Washington Journal continues.
Welcome back to Washington Journal. We're joined now by Frank Luntz. He's a pollster and communications strategist. Welcome to the program.
It's such, today, of all days, this is such an honor. I'm grateful, I'm privileged, and I hope we have a really good conversation.
I think we will. Well, today's events in D.C. come as Marines and federal troops are in Los Angeles. Tensions are rising in the Middle East. What do you make of this moment?
What's interesting, and I heard the introduction about 5 minutes ago about public opinion, is that the only institution right now that still has a majority of support, faith, trust, and confidence is the military. Doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or an independent. It is the most trusted institution in America today, and I'm determined to keep it as such. Keep out the politics, keep out the partisanship. We don't trust our schools, we don't trust our health care, we don't trust politicians anymore, but we believe that the military serves us, and it's selfless service, and we're grateful. And in fact, the thing that I want to emphasize as the very first way to kick this off is, when you thank someone in uniform for their service to the country, do more than say thank you. Buy them a meal. I know they won't take it, but buy them a meal, pat them on the back, give them a first-class seat on the plane. Do something meaningful, measurable, and tangible to express your appreciation, because let's face it, our democracy exists because of the men and women in uniform. They don't swear an oath to the president. They don't swear an oath to the United States of America or to the people. Their oath is to the Constitution, and that is why they've been so successful. That's not why they've been successful, but it's why we've been successful. The Constitution above all, regardless of who sits at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And what they appreciate more than anything else is the commitment to each other, to the man or woman to their left, to the man and woman to their right, to always have their backs, to always be there for them. All the attributes, character traits that we really want in our young people, it's what's being taught at West Point and in our service academies. So yes, they use the word warrior, but please include the fact that these are young men and women of character, of sacrifice, of commitment. And one last thing, a cadet cannot lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate those who do. Isn't that what we want in society? Isn't that what we want for our kids, for our parents, for the people we work with? These are attributes that we should be celebrating in addition to the warrior ethos.
Well, let's take a look. You spoke to some of the cadets. These are Sandhurst team captains. We'll talk about that later, but here's where you're asking them about the term warrior.
How do you know you're a warrior?
We train and we compete and we test ourselves, and through those tests we kind of gain confidence and realize where we're at and what we need to improve, and that's how we know if we're ready or not.
To win this competition, we have a series of alumni that are out in the big army that are doing a lot of great things, serving their country, and they invested great amounts of time to this organization and to win it. And so there's a culture that we create of winning, and so this year our task is the same as it's been for the last 9 years. Win the competition, because that's what you do and that's the person you are for the alumni.
And expand this to the country. What does it mean to America?
It showcases America is ready to go. It showcases our lethality. It shows that we're ready to support and defend the United States of America and its people.
How can we create tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who have that commitment? I know we're going to show other clips of this, but they act the way that we want them. They are who we want them to be. And thank God for West Point, because it's there to ensure that it is not just leadership. It is not just lethality. It is not just a commitment to the military aspect, which it is, but we're going to win the right way. We're going to win the ethical way. We're going to win, but we're going to be proud of it. And I love that.
Tell us about West Point Sandhurst Military Skills Competition. What's it all about?
So it's been there now for about 60 years. I think it started in 1967, and invites teams, obviously from West Point, from the ROTC units across the country. Usually you have more than a dozen of them. There are often 10 or 15 countries that are represented. And here's what's interesting. Competing in this tournament, in this competition, were teams from Germany, Italy, and Japan. Our enemies, who we are killing 80 years ago, are now on side, competing peacefully, physically, emotionally, militarily. This is, to me, the greatest success, that these sworn enemies of our grandparents are now our allies. And the competition, I got to read them to you: tactical combat care, grenade assault, land navigation, rifle marksmanship, weapons assembly, all sorts of fitness tests and obstacle courses, machine gun deployment. And it's physical, it's mental, and it's based on team. And all the skills that we require in the military are part of Sandhurst. And in fact, that's the whole purpose of it, is to recreate those skills that they're going to need in the next 10, 15, 20 years of their lives. I can't do any of them. I can't even put on a uniform, obviously. I'm so intimidated by what they do in 5 minutes, because it's more than I do in 5 hours. And the best are just awesome individuals.
Why do you say that?
Because I can't live, because I'm embarrassed. Because I promised I would not get emotional before I did this. I did not serve. Every night in college, I got to sleep in a warm bed, I got to drink, I got to do whatever. On Friday night, this is several months ago, they're celebrating the 500th day. They're going to graduate 500 days from then. And I'm walking home. It's about 9 o'clock. It is snowing and sleeting, and the weather's awful. And it's 30 degrees. It's cold and wet. And these people come pouring out of the dorms in uniforms, in get-up that I never saw before. I was so intimidated. Normally I take pictures of this. I was so intimidated. At Friday at 9 p.m., they're going to be outside for the next 8, 10 hours, on the ground, in the rain, in the snow, outside, cold and wet, and I'm going home to a comfortable place a mile from there. It just doesn't seem right to me. And the three generals who run this place, General Gillen, who's the superintendent, General Garcia, who I'll talk about in a moment because this is his program, he's the commandant, and General Reeves is the dean. These three generals have created, or are stewarding, a learning environment like no other. You don't play games. You don't perform. You ask questions. You're expected to challenge, but not in a way that is divisive or polarizing. I have never had a discussion. You know I talk politics. I've never had a discussion that ended with someone saying, I'm out of here. They just don't do it because they're taught respect. And if there's one value that matters more, this is not the most important value for the military, but it's the most important value for a teacher and a professor, it's respect. And challenge me, by the way.
Yes, as a pollster, you know how divided this country has become.
It's awful.
How polarized this country has become. Those cadets are a product of this country. So how do they, I mean, is West Point some sort of a utopia where politics doesn't matter and everybody gets along and everybody loves everybody?
It's why I say to parents, don't send your kids to the Ivy Leagues. The Ivy Leagues teach personal excellence. West Point teaches team, teaches problem solving, critical thinking, team building, and the most important of all, which I don't get at any Ivy League, and I've taught at 2 of them, character development. So you ask me what's different about West Point, it's the character, and that is part of what the generals insist on. It is not just military performance, it's also character.
Everything kind of comes together. You learn a lot of discipline being on a Sandhurst team. You have to go, get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go work out. All these things really seep into other aspects of your life, and I think that's the biggest change.
How are you a better human being because of Sandhurst?
I realized, if I ever wanted to achieve anything in life, I needed to suffer. you will learn from that suffering and you will become better because of it, because you know what you're capable of and you can trust your training, you can trust what you've done, and that like you become better because of that.
Is he right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Y'all agree with this?
Yeah. I think it's about the shared suffering as well, and building faith in the teams you work in. I think for us, like going through academies, it's building faith in your peers around you to perform under pressure as well as yourself. I think that shared suffering is one of the only ways you can sort of forge those bonds and forge that trust. And you can't really get that outside of putting yourself through, and your peers through, like pushing their limits.
I've never met students more determined to make not just their lives better, but the people around them better, to lift everybody up. And it's not happening at other college campuses. And that's why I think it's exceptional and extraordinary. And the women at West Point are awesome. I would use a four-letter word, but I don't want the FCC coming down on you. They are so awesome. They are dedicated and committed and focused and great leaders of character. And to be around them, I don't measure up. They're better than me. They really are. I teach my cadets to sit around people who you don't necessarily agree with, who don't look like you, who don't sound like you, and get the experience. We just brought them to Europe for 10 days. They got to meet 4 British prime ministers. They got to meet the commander of NATO, General Cavoli. They got to meet the head of the Finnish military. They got to meet the leader of the European Commission military. They got the broadest understanding of what Europe thinks right now. And they look at us and they don't understand why we're doing what we're doing. Europe looks at us and says, why are you so chaotic? Why are you such a mess? And please don't bring that mess to us. And that's the questions that they asked, and the knowledge that they got from this isn't tinted based on partisanship. It's focused on the facts. And everyone, we all are told, you teach a fact-based approach. Nothing more and nothing less.
I want to ask you about DEI programs in the military writ large, since the caller brought that up. What's, not necessarily with at West Point, but in general, what are your thoughts on that and the impact that that's had on the military?
The goal of it was to ensure that people saw individuals who look like them. So we got female leaders advanced and got promotion, and people who might have otherwise been excluded. But the highest priority for people who lead us and who serve us, whether in the military or the police or the fire or healthcare, education, all the things that matter in society, it's about merit, about performance. Did you actually earn it? Who you look like, what you look like, is not as important as what you know, as what you do, and the record that you've had, whatever track record you've had.
So is it your opinion that removing those programs has been a positive, a net positive for the military?
You see it as removing programs, and I see it as reinstilling performance and merit. You earn it, and therefore you deserve it. And that is so important in American life, because that's one of the things that makes us American. That's what makes us exceptional. That if you're really bright, I've got a cadet right now. All I'm going to say is his first name. His name is David. He's got crummy grades. There will be 10 cadets who know who I'm talking about. This kid is bright as hell. And I need to ensure that he gets every opportunity to succeed, because he's going to take advantage of it. And that's what makes West Point so awesome. You can start with lousy grades, and you can end up the leading general in the country.
How has it changed you?
Because I can't do partisanship anymore. Because they can't. I have to be able to speak to every individual, every caller.
But you weren't working with the military 10 years ago.
No, and that's the whole point. It's like a kick in the head. I realized I should be a better person. And this is part of what I've been going through. My health situation, my career situation. I wasn't who I should have been. I took a line rather than taking the truth. And I sought the phrase rather than the facts. And that's completely changed now. And I know that it agitates some cadets who think that I'm coming in with a certain ideology. They see me on YouTube, they've read my background, and they assume they're going to get one thing, and they don't. And it upsets them. And I tell them it's a much better way to live. When you learn how to apologize, I say this to that caller, when you learn how to apologize, a whole world opens up to you. And even more importantly, when you learn to say you're wrong, you have freedom to get it right. And it's so liberating for me.
All right, so here is the portion where you ask the Sandhurst team captains about how this competition helped them overcome weaknesses.
How did it change you?
Right.
What are those weaknesses that Sandhurst changed?
So, for instance, I've found that I don't recover very well from failure. I get very hyper-focused on tasks that if I underperform at, it hinders me, and I have a hard time recovering from that. Sandhurst has taught me that you can't stay there. You have to keep your head up and keep moving forward because there's plenty of competition left in front of you. So I think that really speaks to what we've been talking about a lot, just that resiliency piece. Sandhurst shows you that no matter what happens, you might take some hits, you got to keep your head up, keep moving forward.
Sandhurst has made me a better problem solver under stress. There's mistakes I've made in years past that I think about when I train now so that I don't repeat those same mistakes. Maybe I missed a target. Maybe I shot 39 out of 40 on a stress soup. Well, I can't do that this year, but I especially can't do that on the battlefield. Like, what if I only shoot 39 soldiers out of 40? Well, what happens if I get hit, one of my buddies get hits? You have to remind yourself these things while you're training so you don't repeat the same mistakes.
Tough, relentless, determined, unwilling to accept anything but the best, but perfection. And what does that do? That's what gives us an army that we're about to celebrate today. That's what has allowed us to celebrate the freedoms that we were granted 250 years ago. And the only thing that I'm afraid of, my greatest fear, is that we are lowering our expectations, that we are accepting average or mediocre.
In the military?
In life itself. And that's why the military still has the most credibility, still has the most support, has the most faith, trust, and confidence in. Because they're trying to be the best.